Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, here's the thing between both these particular devices. I am a big fan of the FE series. I think they've been really good. And if you're in the market and you're trying to go through and pick up a device, these are genuinely pretty decent options. But if you want to pick up these or maybe some other phones that I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get that from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular devices. The Samsung Galaxy S24 FE came out a little bit late last year, kind of in the September timeframe, and it's about a year old as of this point. On the front side of the S24 FE, you're getting a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display. So the display in the panel itself really isn't that bad. It does look pretty good for kind of what you're getting here. And I would imagine that this type of panel still holds up fairly well compared to a lot of other phones that came out, basically even in 2025. With something like the S24 FE, this phone is giving you 1900 nits of peak brightness. It's also giving you 120 Hz display as well. So there are still some really nice things going on for this type of device when it kind of comes down to it. And I feel like if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, you're still able to go through and get a very good, decent type of experience from this type of phone. But keep in mind, even now that the new iPhones came out, a lot of newer devices are giving you easily like over 2000 nits of peak brightness. And a lot of flagship nowadays are giving you kind of closer to 3000 nits of peak brightness, to be honest. So that is one of those things to keep in mind. But even at that, I don't think it's like the biggest deal in the world. But it is going to be one of those slight things you're going to have to kind of keep in mind there if you're planning on kind of buying this phone. With something like the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, this phone is kind of giving you a little bit of a different type of experience here. So, and I say that jokingly because it's giving you the exact same type of experience as far as I can tell. The S25 FE is also still giving you a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's the same size display for the most part, which again is kind of insane, but it's also essentially going to be a little bit kind of a, deja vu, because it's giving you the same type of brightness, so nothing has really changed there. And it's also going to be giving you basically the same type of layout when it kind of comes down to its, capability, such as when the brightness, the refresh rate obviously would be the same, but it's basically the same thing all across the board. So that could be kind of an annoying thing depending on who you are. If you're planning on going through and picking up a device, that could be one of those other slight things that you might run into there. So it may not be like the biggest deal in the world, but if you are planning on buying a phone like this, you might be experiencing kind of like a stranger type of experience from this type of device. But again, it's not really like the biggest deal in the world, but that's kind of how both these displays kind of hold up from that particular perspective. Now, on top of that, you also have to remember that with this type of phone, you're also going to be essentially getting the, USB Type-C ports at the bottom. The display, like the phone themselves, are kind of the same exact build, so there's not really even that big of a difference from that side either. They're relatively the same type of device for the most part. So for better or for worse, that could be something to keep in mind there. The back side, you're still also getting these, glass backs on both, which I'm really glad to see. I love having a glass back. And you are going to be getting that and maintaining that inside of this type of device, which again is another really cool thing to have here as well. On top of that, you're also going to be able to still maintain wireless charging, reverse wireless charging on both. And these phones from that perspective still hold up fairly well, right? Maybe they're not the most perfect phone of all time, but they're still giving you a good type of experience. And I would imagine that if you're in the market and you're going to go through and pick up some phone, you're probably still going to get a pretty good experience from this type of device. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. Now, on top of that, another important thing to keep in mind here too is basically when it comes down to their cameras. So these cameras, for the most part, are still going to be able to give you a good, very good type of experience for the most part. So these are still very good types of devices that are still going to look great. And for these cameras, they're both basically triple camera setups, which is great. I love having that. And you're going to be able to maintain that here, which again is a nice thing. And beyond that, there's not really anything else like super insane that you haven't seen. And I think that might be another big thing to keep in mind there as well. So it really is just dependent on which way you kind of want to take a look at it. but I would probably argue and I would probably say that either way, getting one of these types of devices, the cameras, are still going to be great because you're still able to get 8K capability on the backside, and you're still able to go through and get very good types of performance and capability from these types of phones when it comes down to it from that side. So I do feel like from that particular perspective too, you're still able to get like a pretty good type of experience. Is it perfect? Probably not. But I would imagine that you're still able to go through and kind of maintain and get, a good type of experience from the camera side. And I feel like that's always something that's really important to kind of keep in mind there from that particular perspective as well. So take it as you will, but I feel like that's kind of how I would see both these cameras kind of holding up from that particular perspective. On top of that, when it basically comes down to their software longevity, this is also going to be another really important thing to keep in mind here too. Because if you're trying to get the device that's going to be giving you the overall better type of experience from that software longevity standpoint, both these phones are going to be relatively kind of around the same thing. So there's not really going to be like a massive difference when it comes down to their software longevity. It might be a year, but it's probably not going to be anything super crazy. So I don't want to give the impression that this type of device is going to be lasting for, 20 years or anything like that. It's going to be giving you a good type of experience. And that's kind of what's going on here. Even from the battery life perspective, you are actually getting a little bit of an increase when it does come down to that battery. So this is actually something that's really nice. So you're going from a 4700 milliamp hour battery to a 4900 milliamp hour battery inside of the newer upgrade. So that is actually something that's kind of nice there. But on top of that, another important thing here too is that with something like both these phones, you're also able to go through and still maintain, fast wireless charging, but it is faster wireless charging and faster wire charging on the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE as well, which again, that in and of itself is another really, really nice thing to basically have inside of a device when it comes down to it from that particular perspective too. Now, when it comes down to their performance, I think this is another really important thing to keep in mind here as well. You're basically able to go through and get Exynos 2400 chipsets in both. Although with the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, it looks like all the models are, 8 gigabytes of RAM. I thought there was a 12 gigabyte of RAM option. I guess I'm mistaken. But 8 gigabytes of RAM on all of them. I would also probably argue that the performance isn't really going to be like this crazy, amazing performing phone on either one. They're both going to be, having their issues for the most part, so to speak. So that might be another one of these, kind of minor things to keep in mind there as well. Is it going to be like the biggest deal in the world? Probably not. But it would be nice to be able to go through and maybe get a device that is going to be giving you a slightly better experience. And with these types of devices, it's a little hard to tell, but I would probably imagine that you're not really going to be getting like really great fast performing phones in either one. They're going to be good and they're going to be able to be good for the most part. But it's not really going to be anything like worth bragging about, I would say. They're going to be good performing phones, but these Exynos chipsets aren't really that great. So from that side, what I can definitely tell you, in my personal opinion, these devices, right, the Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, they're good phones, but I just don't think these are phones that are worth, spending that much money on. I think the S24 FE at that basically $300 price tag is actually pretty decent. It's actually not that terrible of a device. But I look at something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 FE, and I kind of feel like that type of device is kind of overpriced right now, like around $650. I think a Galaxy S25 or a Galaxy S24 makes a lot more sense than these phones, and I would recommend buying those types of devices before you go through and buy these ones. So that's the way I kind of see it. I also have those phones linked down in the description, so you can always get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, till then.